She wasn't born on a stage. She was born into expectation, before the world called her Jennie, before It Girl became a headline stapled to her name. She was a quiet kid learning a dangerous lesson early. When people think you're special, they also start watching for you to fail. That pressure doesn't arrive with fame. It arrives the moment your life begins to look different from everyone around you. In New Zealand, far from Seoul's glare, Jennie's childhood carried two realities at once: freedom and distance. New schools, new language, new faces, yet the same question followed her like a shadow. Who am I when nobody knows my name? While other kids blended in, Jennie learned how to survive being the girl from somewhere else. She learned how to speak with confidence even when she didn't feel it. And slowly, she built the kind of composure that later fooled the world into thinking she was always fearless. But here's the twist. The calm people admire in Jennie is the same calm they later accused of being cold. The aura that made her magnetic would become the reason she got labeled untouchable. And when she finally stepped into the K-pop system, the story didn't become easier. It became sharper. Because the moment you look like you might be chosen, the crowd splits in two: the ones who want to lift you, and the ones who can't wait to prove you didn't deserve it. This isn't a biography. This is a countdown. From a childhood built on distance and discipline, to a debut that turned her into a symbol, to a spotlight that would later feel like a trial. The question isn't whether Jennie became a star. The question is, when the world decided she was the favorite, did it also decide she should be the first one to be punished? Jennie Kim's story doesn't start with glitter. It starts with distance. Distance from familiarity, from routine, from the safety of being just like everyone else. As a child, she moved between worlds, and that alone shapes a person. When you grow up adapting, you learn a quiet skill. Reading the room fast. You learn how to sound confident even when you're unsure. And you learn how to keep your emotions tight, because being visibly overwhelmed is a luxury you don't always get when you're the new kid, the foreign kid, the one people notice before they understand. In New Zealand, Jennie didn't have the K-pop machine around her. She had classrooms, uniforms, and the reality of being far from home at a young age. It's the kind of environment that can either break your sense of self or harden it into something sharper. She learned English, learned independence, learned how to carry herself with that calm face people later called effortless. But calm doesn't mean easy. Calm often means practice. It means choosing not to show the chaos. It means building a mask that looks like confidence because you've had years of rehearsal. And here's what matters for the before fame arc. Jennie didn't just return to Korea with a dream. She returned with a standard. She had seen life outside the industry bubble. She had tasted what normal could look like. So when she stepped into training, it wasn't just, I want to be famous. It was, if I'm going to do this, I need to be exceptional. That mindset is dangerous because it doesn't allow you to relax. It turns every day into a test, every weakness into something you must hide, every compliment into pressure to repeat it forever. The first signs of her star package were already there, a voice that could switch moods, a presence that didn't scream for attention but still pulled eyes. She wasn't the loudest person in the room. She didn't need to be. Her power was control, how she could look composed, then strike with confidence at the exact moment it mattered. This is the kind of talent that creates myths later. Because when you're controlled, people start writing stories about you. She's rich, she's cold, she's spoiled. They fill the blanks with whatever fits their bias. And Jennie, even before debut, was the type of person the public would eventually project onto. Then the door opened. YG Entertainment. The company had a reputation, sharp edge, high standards, and a long waiting room of trainees who never made it. Jennie entered that world young, and the moment she did, her life became a measured life. Hours, evaluations, rankings. The training wasn't built to raise kids, it was built to manufacture winners. And in a system like that, even praise is a weapon. If the staff notices you, you become a target for expectation. If you improve fast, you become a target for resentment. And if you don't improve fast enough, you become replaceable. Jennie survived because she could do what the system rewards: adapt quickly, absorb criticism, deliver results. But survival has a cost. The more ready she looked, the less permission she had to struggle. People forget this. The industry loves talent, but it loves consistency more. And consistency is painful when you're still growing up. You can't have messy phases. You can't experiment publicly. Your mistakes belong to everyone. So, before fame for Jennie isn't just childhood and school. It's the slow construction of an image that would later trap her. The girl who looks composed, therefore must be fine. The girl who performs like a pro, therefore must be favored. The girl who seems confident, therefore must deserve every attack. Long before the world called her It Girl, Jennie had already learned the rule that creates icons and ruins them. If you look like you have it all, people will feel entitled to take something from you. Training at YG isn't a phase. It's a filter. It strips people down until only two types remain, the ones who leave and the ones who learn how to survive. Jennie entered that system young, and from the start she wasn't just learning vocals and dance, she was learning how to be watched. Every practice felt like someone might be judging from behind a door. Every monthly evaluation felt like a quiet execution. You either rise or you disappear without explanation. What made Jennie's trainee years especially intense was the way her skill set didn't fit into one box. She could rap, she could sing, she could switch tone and attitude like flipping a blade. That versatility is powerful, but in a competitive system it's also dangerous. Because if you're good at many things, people expect you to be good at everything all the time. One weekday becomes, she's slipping. One tired moment becomes, she's not trying. There is no human version of you allowed inside that building, only the version that produces results. And Jennie produced results early enough that the label began forming before the debut even happened. The chosen one, the favorite, the center. Sometimes companies create that narrative, sometimes the trainees create it for you. Either way, it becomes a pressure chamber. When people think you're favored, they don't just want to beat you, they want to expose you. They want a crack to prove you weren't earned, you were handed. Jennie had to train with that invisible enemy standing next to her every day. The suspicion that her success wouldn't be accepted as hard work, but explained away as privilege. Then came the public hints. Pre-debut appearances and features that showed her voice before she had a group name stamped on her identity. For a trainee, that's a double-edged sword. On one side, it's proof you're close. On the other, it puts you on a radar you're not fully armored for. People begin forming opinions before you even debut. They decide your personality from a few seconds of footage. They decide your worth from a single verse. You haven't even begun, and already you're being rated. Behind all of that is the simplest cruelty of trainee life. Time. Years pass while the rest of the world keeps moving. Friendships outside fade. Childhood becomes something you remember rather than live. Your body learns pain as routine. Ankles, knees, throat, lungs. Your mind learns to perform fine, even when you're not. And in Jennie's case, the distance she learned in childhood became a tool. She could keep her face calm when everything inside was shaking. That calm would later be praised as elegance and attacked as arrogance. But during training, it was survival. By the time BLACKPINK's debut was close, Jennie wasn't just preparing for a stage. She was preparing for a narrative. The industry didn't simply want her talent, it wanted a character. The luxury image, the sharp confidence, the unreachable cool. And when you're young, being turned into a character feels like power, until you realize characters don't get to rest. Characters don't get bad days. Characters don't get to be misunderstood. They get consumed. Part 3 ends on the edge of debut with one truth. Jennie didn't walk into fame as an ordinary girl who got lucky. She walked in already labeled, already watched, already judged. The world hadn't even met her yet, and it was already deciding what it would love her for and what it would punish her for. Debut didn't introduce Jennie to the public. It assigned her a role. From the first waves of BLACKPINK's rise, the camera kept finding her, sometimes because she was positioned that way, sometimes because she simply pulled focus. Either way, it didn't take long before the label appeared like a stamp, It Girl. And once the internet names you, it rarely stops at admiration. It turns you into a story people fight over. Her breakout wasn't one moment. It was a chain reaction. Music shows, viral clips, stage outfits, and that signature contrast, soft face, sharp delivery, made her feel like a new kind of idol, polished but dangerous, elegant but unapologetic. She didn't need to overperform to look powerful. She just stood there like she belonged. And for fans, that confidence was addictive. For critics, it was provocative, because confidence in a woman is often treated like a crime unless it's packaged as sweetness. Then came the solo era. Solo didn't just prove she could stand alone. It amplified everything people already projected onto her. If she succeeded, it would be called favoritism. If she struggled, it would be called exposure. The stage became a microscope. Every breath, every footwork detail, every expression was slowed down, replayed, and judged by strangers who spoke like they were in the rehearsal room with her. At the same time, her fashion presence exploded. Luxury brands, front rows, magazine covers. Jennie became a bridge between K-pop and high fashion at global speed. But the faster she rose, the more the public demanded she justify her place. Why her? What makes her special? Is she working hard enough? The praise always had a hidden condition. Be perfect, or we'll rewrite your story as undeserved. And that's the twist of her breakthrough. It wasn't just a glow-up. It was a trap door. The more iconic Jennie became, the more people began collecting evidence, real or imagined, to prove she wasn't worthy of the icon status. Because to some, IT girl doesn't mean the one everyone loves. It means the one everyone wants to test. This is where the spotlight starts changing temperature, from warm admiration to the cold light of scrutiny. The internet doesn't just love an IT girl. It tests her like a myth that needs to be disproved. For Jennie, the drama didn't start because she did something unforgivable. It started because she became the easiest symbol for people to argue about: privilege, favoritism, attitude, effort, dating. Everything the public obsesses over when a woman looks too confident to be harmless. Wave 1 was the favoritism narrative. If Jennie got screen time, it was pushed. If she got a solo, it was given. If she was styled well, it was special treatment. The logic was brutal. Her success couldn't simply be earned. There had to be a hidden reason. And once that idea enters the timeline, it becomes self-feeding. Every achievement becomes proof. Every opportunity becomes evidence. The more she works, the more people say she didn't have to. Wave 2 hit harder because it attacked her as a performer. Clips of stages were slowed down, cropped, replayed, and compared like courtroom footage. She's lazy. She doesn't care. She's not trying. The most painful part of this kind of controversy is that it turns a human body into a public property. Jennie's energy on one night, one angle, one moment, became a label that followed her everywhere. No one asked what was happening off camera. No one wanted context. Because context ruins a good hate story. Then Wave 3, private life, dating rumors, paparazzi shots, sources, timelines built by strangers. Jennie wasn't just watched, she was investigated. And every rumor did the same thing. It pulled attention away from her art and placed it onto her worthiness as a person. If she stayed silent, the story grew. If she smiled, it became unbothered. If she looked tired, it became caught. The public didn't just want answers. It wanted control. This is where the cost of fame shows its true face. You don't only have to perform on stage. You have to perform as a perfect idea of yourself, grateful but not needy, confident but not arrogant, private but not secretive, successful but not too successful. Jennie became famous for her composure and then got punished for it. The same calm that made her iconic became the weapon people used to call her cold. And the darkest irony? The louder the drama got, the more it proved her impact. Nobody builds a hate train for someone irrelevant. Jennie's presence became so big that people couldn't ignore it, so they tried to break it. If you strip away the labels, it girl, favorite, controversial, you're left with something simpler and harder to hate, a woman who grew up learning how to hold herself together. Jennie's story isn't just about fame, it's about the cost of being perceived. She spent her childhood adapting, her trainee years enduring, and her adulthood performing under a microscope that never blinks. The world praised her composure, then punished her for not breaking on command. But that's the real payoff. She didn't survive by being loud. She survived by being steady. Even when the internet tried to rewrite her into a villain, she kept showing up, On stage, in studios, in front of cameras, doing the one thing no rumor can erase: the work. In the end, Jennie isn't perfect. She's proof that perfection was never the point. The point was endurance, and she earned that.